our opinions, our needs, our wants into the world. It's also a place where we restrict our expression. The muscles in this area are very commonly used to hold back. There may be fear about what we're going to say, so we hold it back. If you think about it, these belts of tension here, if something's kind of bubbling up from inside of us, some sort of anger or something that wants to be expressed is bubbling up from inside of us, and it's coming up and it's coming up, this area here is kind of like the last chance we have of clamping down on it before we bring it out into the world. And who knows what will happen once we bring it out into the world. So there's a lot of fear that gets tied up in here to hold back our expression. Our jaw also is a muscle that holds back a lot of anger. You can see when you feel anger, you just feel into anger for a moment. You sit here and feel like what happens in your body, in your face. You start to feel anger, yeah. You start to clench, yeah. And we all know that TMJ, temporal mandibular joint pain, which is the joint right in front of your ear, is a very common problem these days. A lot of people grind their jaw at night, grind their teeth at night. There's a lot that we hold here, a lot of stress, a lot of tension, and a lot of unspoken anger, repressed anger gets held in these muscles in our jaw. So in this belt of tension, one of the main muscles we work is the masseter muscle. It's the muscle that runs down here and into the corner of our jawbone. So at some point in this session, you'll see me working with Bree and that muscle. Our throat is a place that we hold back a lot of feelings, particularly grief. It's been recognized for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, for instance, that one of the signs of holding back our feelings, when we have that stagnation that happens in our body from holding back our feelings, it's actually called 𝗵𝗿𝗄𝗧𝗵𝗿. And it's this feeling of something is stuck here in my throat. That's a whole different culture, 5,000 years old. 𝗵𝗿𝗄𝗧𝗵𝗿, there's that hardness, there's that stuckness in our throat. Often that's a lot of sadness or anger as well. So, with these muscles in our neck and our cervical region, we'll be focusing on the two muscles in particular, two muscle groupings. One is the sternocleidomastoid muscle that runs from the back of our ear to the front here. And it's the long muscle here in our neck. And if you take your hand for a moment, and let's say you want to turn your head to the left, but you prevent it from turning to the left. So you're pushing against your left hand, trying to turn your head to the left, and your hand is instead pushing you back towards the right. Feel on the right side of your neck. You'll feel this diagonal muscle popping out. It's this long, thick muscle. It's a sternocleidomastoid muscle. Yeah, and that's a muscle that actually helps turn our head as well. A lot of tension can be held there. So that's a pretty strong muscle. So when you're working with people, massaging into that muscle can feel really good. Another grouping of muscles for this region that's important for us is the occipital muscles. There's a series of small muscles that run in the back of our head, that attach our head to our neck. There's a lot of tension back there. Tension headaches are really common from this area. Where we hold ourselves very tight is very common in this area. So massaging into those muscles to help loosen up the belt here, to help loosen up the tension can feel really good as well, freeing up expression and movement. So, Bree, you asked to be a demo for today's session. So we wanted to be a demo, particularly for this belt of tension.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a reason why?
So many reasons why. Well, I have constant tension inside my palate, and I'm always clenching, and I have pain up here. I find myself sitting like this a lot, and I normally feel it, the pain where the occipital region where all the muscles attach, but right now I actually feel it kind of moving over like C7 area, and I have a constant burning pain that goes down this side of my neck and top of my trapezius muscle. at this point, I start feeling pain over here.
In your trapezius.
Yeah, and up my neck. And any further, my whole torso has to move. I'll feel pain at this point, which is pretty far, but I will feel it right here.
So there's a lot of restriction. Not only is it the oral segment and the cervical segment, but it's even going down to the thoracic segment as well, which is what we're going to be looking at tomorrow. Yeah. One of the other things that we have in this part of our body is we actually have a diaphragm in our throat. It's right behind our third cervical vertebrae, along the area of our vocal cords. And for those of you who do yoga and Ujjayi breathing, that's what you're working with when you do the Ujjayi breath. So that's another area that we tend to clamp down and block our expression and expression of feelings. So there seems to be a lot of tension all through here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you said, and those tears start to come to your eyes. Yeah. What's happening for you? Taking a few breaths into your throat area, a few breaths into your jaw, even if you can. There's a lot of charge in this area coming up. Yeah. So we're coming into contact with the charge already. So before going too much further into that, I want to find also a place of resource with her. So not losing contact with this, this can be here. Is there also a place in your body that feels a little more comfortable, your heart?
Even though it's beating faster.
Yeah.
It's always a happy, loving place.
A happy, loving place. And as you say that, even more tears start to come. All this is from now beginning. Yeah, so just breathing in, taking a few breaths into that happy place as well. Yeah, it's a good thing not to worry about it. We're letting the tears come. We have lots of tissues here for you. So this is, as you know, a belt of expression, and one of the ways that we express is through our tears, by allowing our tears to come. Our tears are an important part of our expression, and ones that we often try to hold back by tightening our throat. So just gonna let some gentle breathing come. And let's bring a little bit of soft stretching into the jaw. Not a big, strong stretch, but almost like you're slowly starting to open and close your jaw a little bit, just feeling into that area. And seeing how that is for you. Maybe starting to let your neck move a little bit, just exploring what feels comfortable for you. There's a lot of tension there, so I don't want to force anything. I'm not going to try and force any movements in her. Instead, I invite you to just explore a little bit about what type of movement, even small micro movements, feel supportive to your body right now. As you're feeling into your jaw, what's that like? What are you noticing?
I'm feeling really tingly here.
Yeah, tingly here.
In my nose and out.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like my jaw's opening, but I have this deeper sense that like it wants to clamp down, or like anger wants to come out.
Yeah.
And that scares me.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with sadness, but anger is where I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. And as women, we're taught that it's okay to feel sad, but anger is a no-go zone.
Right.
Yeah. So as you said, as the tears come again, so let's just explore that. And maybe we can Let it look at the sound of anger. If anger had a sound, just a small sound. I'm not going to start with a big sound. If your anger had a small sound, maybe imagine what that sound might be like. And notice your fists start to clench. So now we're going to pause and let's just feel for a moment. There's a shakiness that's coming up in your jaw. You've started to let a little bit of a layer of the anger come off. So let's just be with that and continue to breathe. Let's let the anger come out of your eyes as well. It's safe to bring it out of your eyes. Heat starts to come on. Good. Staying connected to my eyes. Feeling into your resource if that feels right to you. Maybe let's go a little bit on all fours so your spine can move a little bit. See how that might feel. A little bit of movement in your spine. Your neck move. Just a moment if that feels okay to you. I'm just gently massaging these muscles underneath her occipital ridge. There's a lot of tension there. So I just want to support a little bit of release. Some emotions that come to the surface. There's a lot of redness and heat. That's a sign of discharge in our bodies. So I just want to support this with some touch. I'm not digging in there real deep. I'm just sending a supportive touch into it. Yeah. Taking time to explore how that is for you. Noticing your jaw, I'm curious what's happening in your jaw. Just feel into it. You don't need to answer. She's going to build the capacity to work with her expression again. There's movement, and now sound is starting to come as well. And this organically is rising. I'm not forcing any of this with her. But I am meeting her in her expression. I'm meeting her in this, creating a safe, shared space for her expression. What's happening, the movement through her hands, letting the anger come out her arms and her hands as well. And you notice that they're being so loud and whatever movements your body wants to make. And my sense is that even though that was a big emotional movement, she's still with herself. And when the anger gets to be released, the next layer underneath it, which is sadness, starts to come to the surface. It's really common for us to move between anger and sadness, and anger and sadness. And supporting the backside of her resource, her heart. Nice, easy breaths, breathe. I'm curious how it would feel for you to move your back and feel okay. She says yes. I think I should move on your back and put your head here. I'm just going to work a little bit of these muscles. I want to get a sense again what the tension feels like in the beginning of our session. So you keep breathing, letting your body do whatever it wants to do. I'm using the tips of my fingers right underneath the occipital ridge there. Now I'm going to start to feel down that sternocleidomastoid muscle. And that's actually feeling pretty loose right now. Using her voice, using our voices really helps release tension in that muscle, and she's done a lot of voice work so far. I'm not going to go into the belt below that because she talked about how she's a lot of tension in her trapezius, and there's a lot of tension in her upper trapezius, for sure. Shaking is arising as her body's releasing another layer of the holding pattern, the racing pattern that she has. With my breath, I'm inviting her to return to her breath, even though her body is doing this discharge. And I'm noticing a lot of tension in her jaw. Her mouth isn't fully open. So I'm just going to go in underneath by her ears, underneath her jawbone. Start to work these muscles here. I invite you to charge your body a little bit more with breath, if that feels okay to you. find another feeling that we hold back in our jaws, disgust. Things that we had to swallow and take in as kids that we didn't want to. Whether it was in the emotional environment, the physical environment, food, and that disgust can be in our stomach, and it's one of those things also that our jaw holds back. So I'll just display some tension in her belly, so I just wanted to work with these hands a little bit to open that, support that. Next few exhales, I'm going to invite you again to bring sound, feeling into any tension in your body you're holding, particularly any place you might be holding back. Invite it to come out with a sound. With this belt, if anything wants to come out, let it come out.
Prema, you have a bag there for spitting.
If anything starts to come up, if you start to cough, anything comes up, get it out, spit it out. Don't swallow that down. Yeah, don't swallow that down. Into your resource, into your heart space. Taken so long to get here. Thank you. I know I did the work. You just were yourself. Wonderful guidance. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for holding space. Yeah. her lay down now. This is probably a good place to start to bring this to a close for today. There, bolster. Bolster, yeah. And then your knees. Yeah, do you? Okay, that. Yeah. So just lay there. Some more shaking as her jaw is starting to shake and quiver. There's a little bit more release her body is willing to do. So just relaxing your breath will return to normal. Allowing your body to keep moving and processing the way it wants to process. I do a lot of off-the-body touch. I do a lot of looking for this energetic field. Because while she's moving, I don't want to put my hand on her body. That might interrupt her body's movement. So I'm going to be in her energetic field. Does it normally get cold right before the trauma? Yes. Yes. Okay. You're contacting the freeze, and with the treming, you're releasing that, the heat comes to the surface. Okay. And last thing is another way we discharge.
What was the last thing?
Laughter is another way our bodies release discharge. Any questions? Should I take questions? Would you like a question answered? You're going to shake it a little. Yeah. Okay. You keep doing what your body wants to do. Yeah. You have all the time and space and support you like.
So in this session you can see that there were 2 cycles of activation, charge, discharge. The first one was during the sitting stage, during the interview, and the second one when she screamed, she allowed herself to express through using her voice. That's the second one. If this was a regular session, she would continue to breathe and charge, and it could be another deeper layer. She could encounter one more. And for me, what was important is that actual action of spitting out. Yeah, we will give each one of you a bag during your session. So whatever comes in your session, you are not allowed to swallow. You swallowed enough through your lifetime. Now it's your chance to spit out whatever's been fed to you with religion and behaving a certain way and acting a certain way to fit in. You took it in and swallowed. Now is your chance to spit it all out. So actual action of spitting matters in this session.
And noticing her eyes, and her eyes are starting to orient to the room, and she's starting to look around. By This is a normal part of the cycle of what we do. As we release something from our body, we go into an activation, and then a deactivation. The next part of the cycle is orientation. And our eyes are naturally doing that. They're looking around the room. It's another sign of successful trauma release. She said, I'm so happy and proud of myself.
So even though it looked intense, and I'm sure everyone in the room felt really affected by this scream because it came with power. So what matters for me that there was power behind it. It was not disconnected venting. If it's an expression which is connected and powerful, and you could feel it in the essence of it, then it's great, it's successful. Versus something,
fear.
Yeah, out of fear or out of venting, which in sound would come out of the throat instead of the belly, which in your case it really felt like it was coming from the bottom of the belly. That it was just an open channel that the throat was not blocked, the jaw was not blocked to express this sound.
And I'm hoping that you also noticed the way I titrated into the session with her. I was just trying to get her to go and scream or something. It was bit by bit. We worked in small little layers to unblock.
Can you point out, if you remember, the moments of titration so that you can fully explain what titration is or an example?
When we started working with your jaw, I said slowly start to open and close it. I didn't say, I didn't go in and try and massage it. I had you first slowly exploring it, exploring the movement. Okay, and you slowly started to bring in that movement in your neck. And I said, if there was a sound there, can you imagine what that sound would be? That's another step of titration. And then we slowly started going, and they started exploring the sound. There wasn't a pushing. I'm not trying to bust through anything. It's an invitation for her to feel into herself and start to find what's there inside of her that wanted to be expressed. Because again, this is the belt of expression. So when I started joining you, we started doing bit by bit, a little bit more sound, And we laid that aside for a while. And then later on in the session, I came back to sound again. I said, if you feel in any place in your body where there's, I think I said, where you're holding or bracing or something, if there was a sound to that, what would that be? And that's, again, I had already primed you by doing sound at the beginning of the session. So we already laid down it wasn't a new thing. I already laid down for her. We can start to safely work with sound, and sounds that are a little bit angry. She said anger is hard for her. She's afraid of anger. Sadness is easy. So when I came back around to sound for the second time, then I was able to more fully move because she had breathed more. We had worked in her neck, we had worked in the back of her skull, had worked in her jaw, so this was open, and the sound was able to come out much more with the power. But it was bit by bit brought to that point.
And I can say that I don't know if I would have belted all that anger if you hadn't mirrored and supported me. Because that made it safer to do it.
Yeah, for sure. If somebody's afraid to express anger, you can pretty much be guaranteed that anger was not an expression allowed in their home as they were growing up. And so it's really important that you join with them, that you create the space that, we're in this together, that anger can even be like a playful aggression. We could have even gotten into more of a playful thing with it, whatever direction it wants to take, but healthy anger, supporting her healthy expression of that anger, that playful energy, that kind of rough energy.
That's why it's so important that all of you really get the chance to get in touch with your own anger and be comfortable with it so you don't block anyone else from expressing it. If you don't do it yourself, you will never be comfortable with someone else expressing it in front of you. Also, there's a direct connection between the tension in the jaw and the tension in the pelvis. So if one begins to open, the other one follows, and vice versa. It's really interchangeable. You saw in Bree's session that once this started to open, so much shaking started to happen in the legs and the pelvis. So this is it's very much connected. So in your session, if the tension, if the movement starts to happen in your pelvis during this opening, please encourage this, open this up, and with it, open up the fluidity in the spine so the unwinding can happen. This energy can move through between two belts, between the oral and the pelvic belt. So this wave of energy can move through the spine. Yeah? So your shoulders are moving, your mid-back, your lower back, your pelvis. Please surrender to it. Your body will show you what needs to happen. What's needed from you is to let go of controlling it. Let go of the control. Let the body take over.
You should go on right
Yeah.
now.